Hi everyone, so I'm going to be talking about the movie Crawl. Now, Crawl has a very simple premise. Essentially, there is a father and daughter trapped in a crawl space in a Category 5 hurricane, so already it's not a brilliant situation to be in. And then we add alligators into the mix. So while it's a very simple storyline and it's a very short duration, it's only 90 minutes. So you imagine it's just a typical type horror movie, not to expect much from it. But unlike a lot of other movies that kind of add this simple premise, but then they have horror performances, this one has fantastic performances. So there is two main characters. You have Haley, and that is played wonderfully by Kaya. I'm not going to try and say her last name because I will butcher it, but I'll put more details about her underneath. And Barry Pepper, who plays Dave, Haley's father. So you only have these two main characters that are kind of running the whole story. There's other characters, but they are very minor to the plot and the whole story as a whole. So Kaya and Barry are absolutely fantastic in this movie. Not only do they have wonderful chemistry as the father and daughter duo, they just have wonderful performances as themselves. And they already have kind of chemistry from doing the Maze Runner franchise together. So this is not the first time they've been in a movie together. And obviously Alexander Aja saw the chemistry they had and brought them in together. So he's the director for this film. You may have heard of him from High Tension, Horns, Piranha 3D, Mirrors, The Hills Have Eyes. So he obviously has a thing for horror films, and I wouldn't say Piranha 3D was exactly scary, but he's a weird creature, simple premise type film similar to this. So it's a very simple premise, very short duration as it's only 90 minutes, but it holds your attention so incredibly well just because of the wonderful performances. I cannot say performances today, I'm very sorry. Kaya is obviously the standout. They give Haley such an interesting backstory because they make her such a strong swimmer, and it's really suitable to the story because a lot of films will have you in this ridiculous situation and then you can miraculously get out of it like it's no problem at all. But this one, they actually give her a reason of why it makes sense for her to be such a strong swimmer. So I give them kudos for that, because sometimes horror movies can just take the unbelievable and just throw out the window and just go to the extreme of unbelievable. So I really enjoy her as an actress before this movie. I really liked her from the Maze Runner franchise. I really liked her from Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man Tell No Tales. There's a few other films she's been in, but they kind of gone under the radar, like Clash of the Titans. But she's probably most well known from the TV show Skins. I haven't seen it myself, but she was a huge part of that show for a lot of the episodes. So I imagine that's where a lot of people know her from. Barry Pepper has been around since the early 90s. So it's definitely guaranteed that you have at least seen one of his movies in your lifetime. Especially if you've seen the Maze Runner franchise with Kaya, because he's obviously in that. I find it interesting they both actually worked with Johnny Depp. With her with Pirates of the Caribbean, him with the Lone Ranger. His best role is played from The Green Mile, because I just absolutely adore that movie. So they both have fantastic performances already before coming to this film, but just their chemistry and the way they present their characters are definitely the standout of this film. Usually I am not one to jump at all. I don't really go into a lot of the jump scares a lot of horror films and thriller films present. I'm like, yeah, this is obviously coming, whatever, like I'm not going to fall for it. But this film got me every time. I jumped 4 times during this film. Usually I don't jump at all, but this one got me so many times. And I'm not saying they weren't the obvious jump scares, like you could definitely see them coming, but they still just, I was so intent on the story and so intent on whether Haley and Dave would get out of the situation, and also they have a little dog, and I hate watching dogs die in films, so I was like really intent on, oh no, like, I hope they survive just to get the dog out of here. So like I was just so intent on whether they would survive, and even if they survived the alligators, how would they survive the hurricane, because it's category 5. I'm like, you're in kind of a shitty situation. So yeah, like this story just had me completely drawn in, and I was expecting it to be decent. I wasn't expecting much from it. I was just expecting a decent movie. So I really enjoyed Crawl. It reminded me a lot of the movie Bait, which came out in 2012, and it's more of an Australian film, like it was made in Australia. And a lot of people didn't like it because it was just such a ridiculous concept and the performances wasn't as strong. I personally love Bait. Basically, there was a natural disaster. A group of people are trapped in this shopping center as a robbery was taking place. So then one of the people are a robber, but they don't know who it is. And then a shark comes into the shop. So it is ridiculous, as Crawl sounds ridiculous, but I feel like the performances in Crawl were much stronger, so it gives you kind of more stronger emotions towards the characters, which I do love Bait, but there's no denying Bait was lacking in the performance category. So while they both have very simple premise, I do imagine Crawl is going to do so much better, especially because even though I'm Australian, a lot of people don't watch movies from Australia, especially in Australia, so that is a little disappointing. So Crawl is definitely going to get more attention just based on the fact that it was made in America. So yes, I absolutely loved Crawl. It had me jumping so many times. I was just so drawn into the story and so drawn into kind of the characters, like their relationship, because they kind of explored it a little bit at the start. I'm like, I don't really care, because I know that in the trailer she's going to save him regardless of whether their relationship's rocky or not. But it didn't take away from the film. It didn't drag on. So I do highly recommend going to see this film if you're into the kind of the thriller, jump scare, simple premise. Like, it does take place in the one location, so you're not going to see like a lot of locations spread through the movie. So yeah, I really enjoyed Crawl, and I highly recommend you go check it out. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and my next review coming will be Stuba.